Perfect.
All right, everybody, what's going on? And welcome to today's edition of SWAC Talk. Of course, this is the show we cover the SWAC inside and out. And I'm your tour guide around the SWAC Seawells coming at you. And today, as you can see by the title of the show, we are going to talk SWAC head coaches. We're going to rank the SWAC head coaches from 1 to 12. I saw a list made by on HBCUsports.com. So I decided to try my hand at it, and I'm gonna throw out the caveat now, man. Some of y'all might not like where your favorite head coach is ranked. I got a method to my madness. I'm gonna explain it all before I start. So I know obviously some people still ain't gonna care because they coach ain't number one, but I got a reason why I'm ranking these coaches where they are. And this is a preseason thing. I mean, by the end of the season, like I said about my quarterback rankings and running back rankings and all of that, by the end of the season, you re-rank these guys, it's going to shuffle even more because somebody's going to have a bad season. Somebody's going to have a great season. So, this is all in fun, all just to kill the doldrums of the season. I think we're like 90 days from the first game of the season. So, we're just making our way through. So we're going to rank these coaches 1 to 12 and have a little fun with it. Don't forget to check out the Patreon, patreon.com/SWAC Talk. Got the $3 level that you can join, gives you access to a group chat, members only group chat, and being able to suggest topics for SWAC Smoke and SWAC Talk. Also, we have a $5 level, which gives you access to both of those perks, as well as being able to be a part of the SWAC Smoke monthly members roundtable, which will be held typically on the last Thursday of every month, live on SWAC Smoke, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. One good thing in the group chat, man, we have a lot of fun. We talk a lot of trash. We talk rumors back and forth, but we have our own APR, NIL, NCAA rules expert in the chat. So if you've got any questions that you want to get answered, you can join the Patreon and hit him up, and he'll definitely give you the answers as best as he can. So y'all make sure y'all check that out. Also subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Hit that subscription button. We're almost at 900. And then we'll be at 1K shortly. So the march to 1K continues. I thank everybody who already has subscribed. And if you're enjoying the content that we bring you, and you're enjoying SWAC Smoke live on Thursdays, and you're enjoying the Chopping It Up series and all of that, hit that subscribe button and subscribe to the channel, and also hit the notification bell to be alerted to when the videos drop. Like the video, share them, and feel free to comment on whatever. So, man, let's go ahead and jump knee deep into this. We're going to start off from the bottom. We're going to start at number 12. My number 12 is Coach Raymond Woody. Obviously, and before we even go any further, I did not rank any new coach above the top 6. Really, I didn't really feel like any new coach who hasn't head coach the college game. I did not feel like I could rank them too high because it does come down to your body of work as a head coach. Your record, your accolades, the guys that you produce, and all of that. So I didn't feel like it was fair to those coaches to thrust them higher, and I didn't feel like it was fair to the coaches who are already there to put a lot of people ahead of them. So that's going to lead to some coaches being ranked lower than they should, and that's going to lead to some coaches being ranked higher than they should. Now, once the season is over, then, we do a re-ranking, and guys who are low may be high, and guys who are high may be low. So that's the reason why when I get to certain names, you'll see why they are where they are. And I'm going to keep saying that over and over just so people understand that is no slight against that coach, because I think some of these coaches are going to be great, but some are they handicapped right now because they haven't coached a game anywhere. I mean, if you had a head coaching job somewhere else, you came to the SWAC, I would take that into account and rank you accordingly. But anybody who hasn't had a head coaching job yet, I can only go off of what you've done so far, and I can't go off of what you've done in actual game action. So that's why you'll see the numbers being what they are. But Coach Woody, I put at number 12 because for me, Bethune-Cookman is in a tough slot right now. They're coming off a back-to-back 2-9 seasons. They had a tumultuous offseason with the Ed Reed situation. Obviously, Coach Woody was not their first choice. Ed Reed was. That situation did not work out. So now he's here, and he's had to kind of work from the bottom, and try to get the numbers up on the team, recruit, bring in guys, and try to get his program on solid ground before he even takes a step forward. So I feel like he started at the furthest back of the pack. So that's why I put him right there. So we'll see what kind of season he has as a coach. We don't know what he's gonna do with this team. We don't know how this team is gonna operate. We know that they're coming off of 2 back-to-back losing seasons, 2-9. And they've lost a lot of guys on both sides of the ball that they're going to have to try to replace. So not a lot of rah-rah coming from Bethune-Cookman, not a lot of energy coming out as far as what we can see on the outside. I mean, I know if you're a BCU person, you probably, looking at me crazy like, hey, we doing this, we doing that. But, hey, a lot of us don't know. So we can only work off of what we see. So for right now, that's why I have him at number 12. Number 11 is Alonzo Hampton from UAPB. Again, another guy who's taken over this job of a team that did not have had a bad 2021, a bad 2022. They were 5-17 in the last 2 seasons after they went to the SWAC championship game in the spring of 2021. So the bottom fell out of Pine Bluff after the Alcorn game in 2021, and they have not been able to get going. Last season, they had a really great running back and could not garner any wins. Had an NFL lineman, could not garner any wins. So they bring in Coach Hampton. This is his first year as a head coach as well. He's approaching it a little bit differently because he is an Arkansas guy. He coached at Pine Bluff a little while, so he knows the area. He knows he knows the ins and outs, and they've been more visible on the trail in recent weeks. The energy has been up more. They didn't sign a big class. I think they only signed like 5 guys, but they're working harder now to get guys in. So that was, to me, that was probably the difference between the two spots. What I see and what I perceive as opposed to the other way around. So not, still don't know what they're going to do. I mean, this is a team who hasn't had a lot of success recently and, still going to have to work. Right now, this is probably the bottom team in the West Division. And so the deck is stacked heavily against them to make a shake. So that's why I put them right there. And just another caveat, they lost their games by an average of 20 points per game last season. So this team is not good at all. And, he's actually going to be looking to kind of find a way to make some things happen, but it's going to be tough. So that leads us to our number 10 spot, who is our third new coach in the conference, and that's Kendrick Wade from Mississippi Valley. He played at Valley as a wide receiver, and this is his first college. Valley was also where he got his first ever coaching job, and this is his first head coaching job, period. Valley hasn't had a winning season since 2006 under Coach Dancy. In 5 years, Valley was 10-38. So again, another program with no success. This offense averaged 14.5 points per game, almost barely under 300 yards per game on offense. So the cupboard is not full, but I like the energy that their staff is bringing. I like the engagement that their staff has. I like that they're getting out and getting after it, and I just like where they are right now in this point in time. I mean, again, just like the other 2 coaches, this is a guy who hasn't coached as a head coach. This is a guy who's coaching at a program that hasn't had a lot of success. This is a program that's never won a SWAC championship, never been to the SWAC championship game, never really even been in contention for it. So, whatever they can do positive is always going to be a plus for Valley. I think sometimes because Valley is so down at times, if they make any kind of positive traction, it looks a lot better than everybody else because they are working with not a lot. So I'm liking what I'm seeing from them right now, and that's why I got them where I have them. Like I said, just going back, there's 4 new coaches in the league right now. I'm gonna take a little sidebar. There's four new coaches in the league right now. There were 3 or 4 new coaches last season. There were 4 new coaches last season, 4 new coaches this season. So 8 out of 12 teams have a coach that's in their second year or less at that school. So there's a lot of new blood in the conferences, or at least at each school, in terms of coaching turnover. You have Willie Simmons, who got to FAMU in 2018. Clarence McKinney got to Texas Southern at 2019. Maynard was at A&M at 2018, and Fred McNair, the dean of SWAC coaches, being at Alcorn since 2016. So 7 years is the longest tenure for any SWAC coach. So not a lot of, and when I say tenure, I just mean tenure at that particular school. Not a lot of time spent at most of these schools. So there's a lot of turnover in the conference right now. And it's always possible that you can lose a coach or two in that senior group. So this season, this time next year, we could have more turnover. So there's a lot of coaching turnover in the SWAC in the last couple of years, and that also impacts how you rank these coaches. So that takes us to number 9, and that's Clarence McKinney from Texas Southern. Now, I kind of dipped back a little bit on what I on what I said about my rankings and everything, but there's a reason why I have McKinney where I have him. I feel like he's a coach that, obviously he came to Texas Southern, took over a bad situation, hasn't had a lot of success at TSU. His first year, he was 0-11, 0-7 in conference. His second year, which was the spring season, he was 1-2 in conference and 1-2 overall. 2021, he was 3-8, 2-6 in conference, which was actually a pretty solid season for them. In recent memory, last season they had their first 5-win season in quite some time. They were 5-6, 4-4 in conference. They actually finished tied for 3rd place in the West. Had a chance to win the West, but it fell short, giving him a total record of 9-27 as a head coach and 7-20 as a head coach in conference play. A lot of where TSU stands right now is expectation. People expecting TSU to finish in a certain spot this upcoming season. Nothing's been done actually really to have them really sit any higher. So he's also a coach right now who is kind of teetering. I mean, if they have a great season, then he probably saves his job. If they have a subpar season, he probably loses his job. So being in that kind of position makes it tougher to put you anywhere else. Like I said, they have some nice weapons on offense, and they're still on the rise. This was a very young team when he took over. Some of the things that are a problem for him are not in his control. Like I said, when you take a team that got 60+ freshmen, you're gonna go through growing pains. But at the end, those guys, as long as they stick together, you have a veteran team in a couple years, and I think that's where they stand. But we still need to see it on the field. So that's why I kind of gauge him a little bit tougher than other coaches, and that's why he's the only non-new coach that's lower than that's not in the top 8, I guess you could say. And that takes us to number 8. And this one I know is probably gonna be controversial for some people, and some people may understand. But I put TC Taylor from Jackson State at number 8. I do think that he's gonna be a great coach. I think JSU is gonna have a great season this season. But again, I had to hold myself to my standards. I did bump him over Coach McKinney because he, being a guy who is a first-time head coach. He's recruiting his ass off at Jackson State right now. He's definitely, taking over a team that the cover wasn't necessarily bare, but, there was a lot of room for turnover, and he was able to keep some guys and bring in some talent and keep this team on the right track. So, sitting here right now, I think he's building a really good team, and they're going to be in contention. I think some people may have them as the number one team in the East coming into the season. I think they're going to be a contender for the SWAC championship. I think they're going to be a contender for the Celebration Bowl. But right now, as a guy who hasn't coached the game anywhere as a head coach, I'm hesitant to put him any higher. I do, like I say, when I say that when I come, and I'm hedging my ass off, but when I say a guy who is gonna be, who is probably gonna bump up the list after the season, this guy is that guy, and I'm really enjoying everything he's done so far. I feel like he's a guy who could have been a head coach at any point. He's put in the time, put in the work, and he's ready to take that challenge. But I can't really rank him any higher right now because he hasn't done anything on the field yet. But he'll probably be a guy who does move up the list at the end of the season. So no slight to him. I don't want nobody coming at me upset because he's not number one. But I can't rank a guy who hasn't won a game yet as the best coach in the league. Now, I mean, if he had coached somewhere else and came, then that would probably be different. But I got to stick to my standards. Number 7 is Hugh Jackson from Grambling. Hugh has recruited really well at Grambling. Both his first year he recruited well. The team I don't even know if the team underachieved. They just weren't that good. Obviously they had the whole take the G off the helmet thing that kind of sits kind of funny with me a little bit. But they finished 3-8 and 2-6 in conference play in his first year. Another really good recruiting class. Definitely bringing the energy and the vibe to the program. They got all kind of things that they got going on, and he's definitely improved the visibility and restructured the image of Grambling football. Now is time for it to translate on the field. It's they getting a guy like Miles Crowley to commit and come to your school and help lead your program as starting quarterback can definitely be a big boost. Defensively, you still have a lot of great guys. It's just gonna be, can this team play 2 full halves of football? Last season they couldn't, and last season the offense really wasn't up to par. So you gotta expect that there's gonna be some improvements on both sides on that side of the ball for this team to continue to grow. The West Division is gonna be tough. This could be a season where you win 5 or 6 games and don't finish in the top part of the division. So there's still a lot of room to grow. And there are some people who looking at him as maybe not being the right guy for this job. But I feel like right now that he's the guy who can get the most out of where they are off the field. Or can they translate that to wins on the field? That's a different topic. I mean, when you look at his head coaching career, NFL football is definitely different than college football, but he was 11-44 in his time in NFL, so he doesn't necessarily have a great pedigree with a record. Now, he didn't coach. Cleveland was not a good team. That the Cleveland Browns were just not a good team during that time, so that definitely handicaps. But he was 8-8 his only year coaching the Raiders, so it's hard to kind of say, okay, you do this in this level and you do this in that level, but it's up to what Grambling can do this year. If they can improve, then he'll obviously jump up the list some more. So that takes us to number 6, Eddie Robinson Jr., head coach at Alabama State. I have him picked at this spot because Bama State had a really solid season in his first year. That was his first job coaching anywhere. And he led the team to a 6-5 finish, 4-4, and they were right there in the mix. They were close with Jackson State. They were close with FAMU. Those were games that they probably wouldn't have won. With a FAMU game, they had a decent chance. Field goal got blocked at the end, but most likely they don't win those games. But they were still in the mix. They kept the defense solid. The offense was not spectacular, but they kind of had opportunity to make some things happen. This offseason's been a little bit tumultuous, losing a few guys in the portal, which has happened to everybody, but I think they lost some key guys in the portal. I don't know how well they replaced those guys. There's still a lot of controversy over the quarterback situation, so they haven't really handled that the best. So there's still some up and down for him. Some maybe his outlook is not going to be as high this season. They could finish third. They could finish lower if they can't replace those guys that they lost. So that's why I kind of have them solidly in the middle. Last season was a good start, but this year could be the sophomore slump. So we'll see. But that's the main reason why he's sitting right there in the middle, because he had a good first season. Not a great off season this season, and we'll see if they can right the ship when the season starts. And that brings us to number 5, Mr. Bubba McDowell, head coach at Prairie View. Again, another guy who took over last season, longtime Prairie View assistant. Been at Prairie View since 2012. So he's been affiliated with the Panthers since 2012. Waited his time, got his opportunity, and had this team on the brink of another division championship. Ultimately, they would lose to Prairie View at the end of the season, and cost themselves a SWAC championship appearance, finishing 6-5 and 5-3 in conference play. But this, he kept the program, kind of running smoothly. They have a solid identity. They should be in the mix again defensively. They were really solid last season. They ran the ball very well, led the league in rushing. Were able to bring in a guy like Caleb Johnson to add to their running back room. So I feel like they're still in the mix. This is a team who some people may pick to win the division. I think they'll be right there in the thick of it. We'll see. Can he continue to develop this program and keep them, moving in that direction, where they can consistently contend for the West Division. But not a bad first season, and Prairie View recruited fairly well, pretty solidly this offseason. So that's why I think he's right there on the cusp of jumping into that top 3 spot. A division championship appearance can probably boost him above some of these other guys, depending on how everybody else does. But he's right there in the mix. Not flashy. The team is not flashy, but they get the job done. They have to find a way to not stumble at the end of the season, but that's the one thing that's going to get them over the hump. And that takes us to number 4. This could be a controversial one, depending on how you look at it. The list on HBCU Sports had Coach Dooley at number 2. I didn't really agree with that. I think that's a little too high, because I don't feel like he's necessarily been able to seal a deal at either place. And he started his career as a head coach at Prairie View, going 5-6 in his first year, 4-3 in conference. Second year he was 6-5, 4-3 in conference. 2020 spring he was 2-1 and 2-1 in the conference. Last 2021 he was 7-5, went 6-2 in conference, won the SWAC West. Going to Southern his first year he was 7-5, 5-3 in conference, winning the SWAC West again. So back-to-back SWAC West titles. No 2 losses in the SWAC championship game, both by double digits. 20 and 2017 at Prairie View, 16-8 in conference play. 27-20 overall as a head coach, and 21-11 in SWAC play as a head coach. Not, obviously, neither one of those are bad. None of those are bad numbers. A winning overall record at both schools, winning conference record at both schools. But there's just some questions that, a lot of people have. Quarterback play is one of the questions, maybe not making changes when you need to. Some people don't feel like, this team is built to, consistently win. But I think, having an opportunity to play for another SWAC championship, you do have to win it if you get back. And I think that's going to be one of those things that you continue to kind of bump a coach down, because you feel like at times that this coach is not fully achieving where they should be. But I think that he's still on the cusp of getting there. You know, I mean, he can keep this team on track and get them back where they need to be. Then, you know, he'll be one of the top coaches. I mean, there's not a lot of, like I said, there's not a lot of experience in this league, so everybody's kind of bumped up a little bit higher. Once the season's over with, you weigh everything, and everybody has a year under their belt at least, and then you have a better idea of where to put guys. So right now, I think 4 is a good spot for him. He does have success. He's only had one losing season overall in his coaching career, but hasn't really had that major success as a head coach. So that's why I put him there. And then that leads me to number 3 is Connell Maynor. You can look at what A&M did the last couple of years and say, okay, well, maybe, maybe he shouldn't be 3. Maybe Dooley should be 3. But I know a lot of people don't really like that spring championship, but A&M won it. And a ring is a ring. You know what I mean? When you look at it, a ring is a ring is a ring is a ring. They were the only team to not lose a game that season. They even played an out-of-conference game that season. So they went undefeated. He took over an A&M squad in 2018, and his first year there, they won 6 games. They hadn't won 6 games in a couple of years. He finished second place his first year at A&M. 2019, he was 7-5, 4-3 in conference, finished second place again. Like I said, they won the conference in 2020. 2021 fall, they went 7-3 and 5-3 in conference, finishing third. So last season was his first losing season as a coach at A&M, and his second losing season since 2016 when he was at Hampton. I mean, he's only had 3 losing seasons in his career, and 2 of those were at Hampton. Just to run through his career numbers, he started off at Winston-Salem. He was 8-2 his first year, 5-2 in conference, 13-1, 7-0 in conference. Went to the D2 semifinals, 14-1 in his third year in 2012, 7-0 in conference. Lost in the D2 championships. 2013, he went 10-2, 7-0 in conference. Went to the second round of the D2 playoffs, giving him a record at Winston-Salem of 45-6, 26-2 in conference play. He went to Hampton after that, 3-9 his first year, 2-6 overall. Went 2-6 in conference, 6-5 overall, 5-3 in conference, 5-6 in 2016, 5-3 in conference, 6-5 in 2017, 5-3 in conference play, giving him a record of 20-25 at Hampton, 17-15 over in conference play. And then, like I said, at A&M, he was 6-5 his first year, 5-2 in conference, 7-5, 4-3 in conference his second year, 5-0, 3-0 in conference. In 2020, 2021, 7-3, 5-3 in conference, and last season 4-7 and 4-4 in conference play, giving him a record of 29-20 and 21-22. So, I mean, he's been successful, at A&M. Hasn't, really won a lot of titles, but was in contention for a lot of titles. Did win the spring. Last season was his first down year at A&M. So I think some of his, some of the heat on him is kind of overblown. And I think he solidly is the third guy. And, I know, like I said, I know a lot of people don't like that spring championship, but I think that gives him a boost up on those other couple guys that's behind him. So that's why I have him there. The number 2 guy we have is Willie Simmons. This is a guy who's been around the SWAC a long time. He coached at Alcorn as an offensive coordinator and running back coach from 2012 to 2014. He was head coach at Prairie View from 2015 to 2017. Took over at FAMU at 2018 to the present. So he's a guy who, even though FAMU was in the MEAC when he left, when he joined that team, they joined the SWAC, so he came back to the SWAC. So he's a guy who has a lot of SWAC pedigree. His first 2 years at FAMU in the SWAC, he's 33 and 20. His first 2 years in the SWAC at FAMU, he's 18-5, 8 14-2 in conference. So you can't really get a lot better than that. Obviously, you wanna you wanna win that first game of the year and give yourself a chance at a SWAC championship. But they did make the playoffs his first year, so definitely sitting right there in the mix. Overall at FAMU, he's 54-23. Excuse me. Total his overall record is 54-23. At FAMU, his record is 33-12 and 24-5. 21-11 at Prairie View, and 19-6 in conference play. Has never had a losing season in any of his years coaching anywhere. He's never had a losing season, whether it's in conference or out of conference. So he only wins. I mean, he hasn't won the big one, which is probably one of the things that really, holds him back. But he's had a team that's been one of the favorites in the conference every year that he's been here. And this year could be the year that he gets over the hump, but that's why I have him there. I mean, he's a coach who, he doesn't lose. I mean, he finds a way to finish winning at the end of the season. He finds a way to be at the top of the conference. He's never finished worse than third place in any conference that he coached in. And that was two of his years at Prairie View. He finished third in the West. Has never lost more than 3 conference games in his time as a head coach. So he's a winner. He just hasn't won that big game, to put him in the mix. And the 2019 FAMU team would have been that team, but they were ineligible to win the MEAC championship that year. So, he's a coach who has won 9 games since in each year since 2019. He's 27-7 since 2019 and 21-3 in conference play in that same time span. So his record speaks for itself. It's just the lack of championships that keeps him from that number 1 spot. And the number 1 spot for me goes to Fred McNair at Alcorn. I know Alcorn has been a little, they've been down the last couple years. They didn't play in the spring season. Then in 2021, their first year in the West Division, they went 6-5, 5-3 in conference, finished second that year. Last season, they were right there in the mix, had a 3-game losing streak in the middle of the season that kind of knocked them out of the division race. Ultimately, finished at 5-6 and 4-4 in conference play. But before that, he won 4 straight East Division titles, 2 SWAC championships, 2 Celebration Bowl berths. Went 5-6 his first year at Alcorn, 5-4 in conference, went to the SWAC championship. 2017 went 7-5, 5-2 in conference, won the SWAC East. 2018 went 9-4, 6-1 in conference, won the SWAC East, went to the Celebration Bowl. 2019 9-4 again, 6-1 in conference, played first place in the East, won the SWAC championship, went to the Celebration Bowl. So in his time at Alcorn, he's had 1 losing season. Now, he's had 2 losing seasons, his first year and then last season. Although his first season he had a winning conference record, didn't have a winning overall record, but had a winning conference record. Like I said, 4 straight East Division championships, 2 straight SWAC championships. Has only finished below second place once in his time at Alcorn as head coach, and that was last season. 41-29 overall, 31-15 in conference play. Right now, there's nobody really with a body of work that beats that. I mean, Willie Simmons is probably the closest to beating that, but he doesn't have the hardware that would beat that. If Willie Simmons had the hardware, then he would be the number 1 guy. To me, that's the biggest difference between first and second place is the hardware. If Willie Simmons had the rings and titles, then he would be that guy at number 1 because he hasn't lost. You know what I'm saying? He hasn't had a losing record at either of the school that he coached at. Coach McNair, like I said, been in the SWAC as a head coach the longest out of everybody at this point, and has won the most out of anybody at that point. So is this a team that's going to turn that back around and get back to the first place spot in the division? That remains to be seen. But right now, looking at body of work and everything, you can kind of give him I don't want to say give him a pass, but you can kind of kind of overlooked last season a little bit because he's proven that he can do it. So it's up to up to him to get the rest of this. So right now, that's why he's my number one guy. I mean, he won. He found a way to win, and he still has his teams in the mix. And I think this team is starting to get back on track, and they're gonna be a factor in the West Division again this season. So that's gonna do it for today's show. I'd like to thank y'all for tuning in, man. Like I said, give me your top 12 SWAC coaches. Your criteria could be different than mine. It could be what coach you like the most, what coach you don't like, what coach talk funny, whatever. Whatever reasons you rank guys where you rank them, that's on you. I rank them the way I did because that's how I feel. And hey, hit me up with your thoughts on this list. So that's gonna do it for today's show. We'll catch y'all on Tuesday. Got a show dropping on Tuesday. Then got Sweat Smoke dropping on Thursday. Also got another show probably drop Thursday morning. So a couple shows on Thursday, one on Tuesday, and anything in between. Y'all hit that notification bell so y'all can be alerted when it drops. Also hit that patreon.com/SWAC Talk, $3 level, $5 level. All support of the show goes back to the show. Help keep the lights on, keep all our subscriptions active, and all that good stuff. So with that being said, man, we up out of here. Y'all enjoy y'all Sunday, and we'll catch y'all on the rebound. Peace.